Royal Noel, welcome to the latest Fearless in Devotion with me, Andy. I have to remember my own name then. And Liam, is that your name?
I think so. Yeah, last time I checked my birth certificate.
I remember once when I had to, I interviewed Sir Roger Moore. I was like, he was coming to Venue Cymru in Llandudno and said, "Does anybody want to interview Roger Moore?" I said, "Keep right, I do." And I phoned him up. Go, "Hi." I got nervous. "Is that Sir Roger?" He goes, "I think it is."
Great
Uh,
name drop.
Yeah, I know. I've more partridge every time we do this. Right, we've got a guest who we'll bring you later, but there's just a few things to sort of chat through this week. Not the busiest because it's an international break, but the prices for the game against Cardiff are out, Liam, and they're a little bit more expensive. They've gone up from £10 to £15 a ticket. Do you see much wrong with that?
I'd like to go down the controversial route and have a go at the club for content purposes because we are, of course, content creators. But actually, I did think that the prices the club was charging previously in terms of the 10 quid was a steal.
Yeah, it was.
And I think as the rounds go on and, interest increases, particularly with us playing against Cardiff, who we haven't played in absolutely yonks, I can see the logic and, also, yeah, okay, the owners have got money, but the club does have overheads, and I know they employ a lot of agency staff on a match day and things like that, so they've got costs to cover as well. So
Yeah.
I don't think 15 quid is too stingy, and I've already got my ticket sorted. So yeah,
I think 15 notes for a Welsh derby is an absolutely cracking price. So well done to the club there. Look, if they'd have made it full price, it wouldn't have surprised me. So the fact that they've still kept to a pricing scheme, I think well done to them. And let's fill it and let's send those Southern Walian bastards back with the tail between their legs, eh?
yeah.
That's it. The two fists you're going to use on two Cardiff fans as you walk to the racecourse. One thing that's not at the racecourse is Wrexham Women, top of the league at the moment. They're playing Cardiff on Sunday. The Rock's not available. There was some talk that maybe they could use the racecourse. It's not looking like they're going to use the racecourse. I think it's going to be Buckley's Globe, isn't it? Do you think that's a bit of a disappointment with them doing so well so early under Jenny Sugarman?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially now we've got the new synthetic pitch laid and everything like that. I don't think playing women's games on the racecourse is going to have any effect. Maybe it's a logistical thing, but it just feels like it's a bit ad hoc at the moment. You've got the new home in terms of the Rock, and yet they can't play there. I think that's probably as much of a disappointment as anything for the women's team. It's
They
meant to
want
be
a
there.
home, don't they? Yeah,
Yeah, they need
Europe.
a permanent home because just this arrangement of going between places is a bit inconvenient. And like I said, I think it is decent for when occasions like this, when there's a spare weekend and they can play there. Why the hell not? It's
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a school of thought that since the first game they held at the racecourse, which had Ryan and Robin was a sellout, it's been a law of diminishing returns. I think they had 2,000 for one of the games, but they're averaging about 700, which isn't. We were getting that in the trophy a
yeah,
couple of years ago, so it's not a small number. It's a bit of a shame because they are top of the league, which is, I think, for the first time really since they made the step up to the Premier Division. And there's no game at all for Wrexham this weekend. So it would have been nice to have it there. And I think they probably would have gone more towards the 2,000 than the 600 for a game like this. But we don't know what's happening behind the scenes. We don't know if there's work being done on the racecourse at the moment. We don't know logistically, if it was possible. It's just a bit of a shame because you would really like to just try and go out and celebrate what these women are doing at the moment.
yeah. God's honest truth of it is, I think I've probably only been to one women's game, but I was thinking, with the international break and stuff, oh, it'd be quite nice to
Yeah,
go and catch a game. And obviously that's easier if it's right on your doorstep. So hopefully that's something that can be done in the future, and hopefully they can keep up their momentum this weekend as well.
yeah, great. It would be great if they could beat Swansea and then back-to-back beat Cardiff, I think that would really be a statement of intent there. Can I just mention the Fearless Devotion Live Night, which is a week on Thursday? I know you're busily lining up guests, but we've got 2 more we can announce. So Geraint Parry from the club, the football secretary, Mr. Wrexham, is going to be in attendance, and hopefully we can quiz him on his involvement with the club, not just 30 odd years of fandom, but also what he does behind the scenes day to day now. And also Mark Griffiths has said he'd come as well. Another Mr. Wrexham and another person we could probably ask exactly the same questions to Geraint too. So it's nice to have those two. We've also got Louis Moult, who I've not really heard much from since he left us. So it'd be nice to catch up with him. He was a bit of an iconic striker, even though we only had him for a season. And we've also got Mickey Thomas, and we don't need to say anything more about the legend that is Mickey, and more to come on that. We're hoping to announce a few others. Bit of transfer news. I don't know if you saw this one, Mister, because you've got your ear to the ground on transfers. Should I play any sort of jingle or?
No, I mean, I know what you're alluding to, but you're going to have to remind me of the details.
Right, so it looks like Aussie trialist keeper Sam Hocking is going to come in. That's been reported by a few people now. Peter O'Rourke.
How many bloody keepers do we need?
Well, I understand it. Danny's out for a while. If anything, you just want people to train with. We've got, what was the name of the other Aussie keeper we had? Calderwood Banks, was it? Or
High Calderbank Park, was it?
Yeah, but so we've got a history of picking up. I wonder if it's the same sort of source. S. Hocking. It's not a great. It's got not a great.
The headlines write themselves.
Those initials don't really marry up, do they?
They'd have had a delight in the lead and news desk with that back in the day.
Yeah, but yeah, well, good luck to Sam if that does come off. And right, we're going to go into our guest, who is former Wrexham striker Matt Jansen. Now, when we say former Wrexham striker, we're using it in the loosest terms. He played a couple of games for us, but he was quite well known. Barclaysman, I think that is the phrase. Yeah. Is it? You know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
So he was well known in the Premier League. He knows what it's like to get out of the Championship, and I think anyone that we can pump for knowledge on that is worth talking to. He can also tell us a little bit about Dean Saunders, Jefferson Louis, some of the characters back then, and he also works for Stockport, so we can always also examine a rivalry that isn't really a rivalry. One interesting thing he does says, and I want to sort of ask you about this. He said he thinks Wrexham are missing a natural goal scorer, someone who's going to score the 20 to 25 to get them from mid-table to the Championship to the upper echelons. And one name he mentions is Jamie Vardy. Now, do you think they should have pushed out the boat a little bit more to get someone like Vardy, even though he is 38 and I hate him for the 2011-12 season?
I think take Vardy's name out of it, and I think the point he makes more broadly about having someone...
Hang on, no. We're content creators. You put Vardy's name in your mouth.
Vardy specifically, I feel like his role's changed like in recent seasons, so I don't know that he's necessarily the goal poacher that's going to get you 20 goals, even though he is still a decent player. I think he's had to, like most players, he was reliant a lot on pace earlier in his career, and he's had to adapt a bit as time's gone on. So
I'm super sub now, do you think, or someone?
Yeah, I mean, that super sub role, like Fletcher played or something like that. I could see him doing that, but a week in, week out, sort of 70 plus minutes man, I just don't know that that's his game nowadays. I'm not really necessarily bothered about the history of Fleetwood and all that. I think now that we're out of the National League, that's ancient. Who was it he levelled in that game? Was it the away game?
Was it Joe Clark he absolutely poleaxed?
And then he got sent, and Clark got sent off later, didn't he? Or something bonkers.
I know he took someone out. If it's Clark who got sent off, I might have been a little bit...
either way, yeah. But that's ancient history. So from that perspective, I wouldn't have an issue. As I said, I think
I hold a grudge.
Would you fight him and then kiss him?
Always. I do that to every new signing. That's why I'm banned from the training ground, wherever it is.
But I think more broadly, though, the point Jansen's trying to make about the regular goal scorer.
I
You know,
get him on that. I totally get him.
yeah,
Look, like Big Keith has started well, and he's what is he now 3-6, something like that. But you you really think you need someone in and around him who's going to be the poacher because he should be surely the guy who sets up the goals rather than finishes them off. And you do sort of think that Windass is a lovely player, and is he close enough to Kiefer? Certainly in the box, it's hard, isn't it?
yeah, I agree with you there. I do feel like the other forwards haven't really played that close off him, and I think him and Broadhead have played together before for Ipswich,
Yeah, and
and
they rated that partnership, by the way.
yeah, exactly, which is maybe as Broadhead. Well, I mean, and we're assuming he's going to gradually become a first team man given the price tag. But I wonder if that's who becomes the guy who gets close to him and plays off him. Because you're right, at the moment, they do seem quite spread out. When he's winning the balls, he's having to try and take on runs himself, which he's not that guy, is he? He's not the guy who's going to beat 3 or 4 players. He needs someone there ready to pick the ball up off him.
No, I know what you mean. Like, there was a couple of instances in the last few matches where he's been played through, and you're thinking, "Come on, Kiefer, come on!" But it's hard to keep that get those big legs pumping, isn't it? And really rip a centre half for pace. Look, for me, it's how Parky wants to develop that side. He could sort of feel that it should be Broadhead and Windass in and around more. So one of them will be charged to stay, and one of them will be charged to go and go and support him. It could be that he wants to use the likes of maybe Windass as an attacking mid, maybe in the Elliot Lee role, and then have someone closer, really, you know, up there with more like a Sam Smith to do sort of like the Mullin and Palmer role, if for want of a better sort of analogy. I wonder if Parky might use a mixture of both. Look, we're not scoring many goals at home.
Yeah.
Is that maybe he goes for the two strikers and Windass at home, and maybe slightly changes it away from home? I don't know. Um, Maybe what I would be thinking of. But the good thing is he has a lot of options there. But I do sort of think I don't think Smith scored this season, has he? Oh no, he has. He scored
Got
in
one.
yeah, which was the deflected one. But
I think
if you're going to have
broadly speaking, though, it's like we scored in every game, but I don't feel like we've actually scored that many goals in a game other than wasn't Norwich, we got 3.
yeah,
Is that the only time we scored 3 so far this season, I think?
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, and as like you say, especially at home, I always said, with the Birmingham match, the danger is if you score one goal, it just takes one chance, and in this division, when a team gets one chance, you're going to get punished pretty much.
yeah. I'm just checking. Did we score? Did we score 3 away at score
Uh,
3 away at Preston?
In the League Cup fixture, was it?
Yeah. Uh, anyway, yeah. Well, so we scored 3 against Hull
Yeah,
and against Preston. Yeah, we scored
yeah,
3 then as well. So yeah, they're in the League Cup, and it's slightly different teams and weakened teams. And I think it's the bread and butter in the Championship
yeah,
where you really need your strikers to be firing. Look, Matt alluded to it in this interview, but it wouldn't surprise me if they're there or thereabouts, they would go big for a striker
yeah.
in January. Anyway, I seem to have introduced him enough, so take it away, Matt Jansen. Just remember, Fat Boy sponsored, and do the newsletter, please, in before the lock. He was a Premier League stalwart who joined Wrexham at a weird time for the club when we were seemingly buying everyone. Veterans, foreigners, Premier League youth players, all in a revolving door around Dean Saunders. In many ways, after a massive rebuild, it's the same thing again at the Racecourse. So who better to ask how it could all fit together than a man who knows how to get out the Championship, former Wrexham striker Matt Jansen. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Right. Everyone has a Dean Saunders signing story. The sort of the mad stuff he does to get you to put pen to paper. I think Dean Keats once said he took him to a motorway service station and then put loads of pepper pots in formation about how he wanted the team to play. Do you have anything similar, or was your signing quite a straightforward one?
No, I mean, yeah, Dean Saunders is a character. I knew him from my days at he was a coach at Blackburn, so I'd finished playing, and he rang me up and he said, "Oh, Yanni, will you come and play for me?" I said, "No, I'm doing my coaching badges." And he says, "Well, you can do that. You can do that here. You can manage the reserves with club legend Joey Jones." And he said, "But will you play for me as well? You can manage the reserves and play for me." I said, "But don't they play on the same day?" And he's oh yeah they do, but we'll sort something out. We'll work it out. And he's infectious, Dino. He's got so many stories, and I gave it a go, but the heart wasn't really in it. I only played 3 or 4 games for them, but yeah, he's a character. Oh, Dino.
Matt, you must know a thing or two about dressing rooms. So when you came in, we had a Frenchman called Aurelio Colleen. We had a lad called Patrick Sufo. We had Premier League starlets like Ryan Flynn. We had old stagers like John Curtis and Ashley Westwood. Was that a weird mix?
And an old stager like me, and yeah, it was a weird mix. But I've been in lots of different dressing rooms. The Bolton one as well had lots of different different characters in. But there was no bigger character than Dean Saunders himself, and he made it work. He was bubbly, he was light-hearted, fun. So he just made the dressing room work really.
I want to zone in on one character. Do you remember Jefferson Louis? Now, I think he's a guy who had about
5 million
30
clubs.
clubs, something like that. What was it like to go from a Premier League dressing room to sharing with the likes of Jefferson?
Yeah, I've been in lots of different dressing rooms, like I said, starting at Carlisle all the way through. It was good. I mean, he's passionate, like you say. I think he's only just finished playing at the age of 46. He loved his football. Quite outspoken. But there was no bigger character than Dean Saunders. So it was always Dino that was the most bubbly in the dressing room, and even Dino could overshadow Jefferson.
And last one for me before I hand you over. Look, it wasn't a great time for the club back then. We were sort of averaging about 3,500 for home gates. But could you see potential in that team
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
and that club really?
yeah. Not necessarily the team at the time. I mean, it was. I think you could see the potential that it was a sleeping giant. It'd been in the championship, a bit like Stockport County, yeah, down in the National League, but a huge fan base, a huge following, a traditional club that had been in the Championship before, albeit in the late 70s. I think Wrexham was. Stockport was a little bit later than that, but you could see it. You could see it, that Wrexham was a sleeping giant, but it needed a lot of money spending on it. And fortunately for Wrexham, Ryan and Rob came in.
Yeah, Wrexham obviously in the Championship now, and that's a division that you've won promotion from previously with Blackburn. What are the key ingredients, as you see it, needed to get out of this league?
Well, a good team spirit, everybody fighting for each other. We had that at Blackburn. We were all great friends on and off the field. We stuck there. There was no sulkers. Everybody wanted the best for each other, and we we were exciting. A good squad, a good manager. They're the ingredient, and you need goals. Fortunately, I was lucky enough to score the second highest goal scorer that season, and I think any successful team has a talisman at the top end of the goal scoring charts.
Yeah, I was just going to pick up on the goal scoring actually. I mean, don't know how much you've seen of Wrexham, but do you think they've got someone who's capable of getting those numbers in their team?
I don't know. Could they push the boat out a little bit more for Jamie Vardy? Maybe he wanted the earth. I don't know. Um, Kiefer Moore. Time will tell whether he'll be able to get them. I like Josh Windass, but he's not a prolific goal scorer. I worry that they haven't got that proven prolific goal scorer. Maybe Kiefer Moore might prove me wrong. Ryan Hardy will chip in with a few goals, maybe, but I think, yeah, if they could have pushed the boat out for a Jamie Vardy or somebody similar, I think that would have stood them in better stead than not having that prolific goal scorer. But like I say, Kiefer Moore might prove me wrong.
In terms of the signings they've made, were there any that particularly stood out or surprised you at all this summer?
Stood out Connor Cody. I think that was a good signing. experience, done it before. That was a good sign. And like I say, I think they should have maybe pushed up for a prolific goal scorer. I like Josh Windass. I think he's exciting. They've got a good squad. I thought when they went up, I thought they'd struggle. I really did think that they'd struggle. I think they've brought in a little bit more experience. So I personally think Wrexham should consolidate this season and then build on it. And it's such a tough division, championship, such strong teams in there. I think if they can consolidate and then build and each year progress, then they'll be knocking on the door before too long, I think.
Talking about the manager, Phil Parkinson's often maligned by experts as not being sort of a modern, trendy type of manager. But do you think he has what it takes to get Wrexham out of the league?
Well, he's done it before. He's done very well since he's been there. Who knows? There's always going to be names touted about, though, isn't there? There's always going to be big names flying around that profess or media profess that they'll be able to do a better job than Phil Parkinson. If Phil Parkinson does go, you could have the likes of Steven Gerrard, Sean Dyche, vastly experienced. No, Big Sam. He's always there and there.
No to Gerrard, but I don't know.
No.
But Big Sam,
yeah, there's always the media always bans names about whether Phil Parkinson's job's at risk or not. That'll never go away.
Big Sam's an interesting one because it almost feels like his methods are coming back into fashion now in the Premier League. He's someone Do you think he could do a job at Wrexham?
I think Big Sam's underrated. And I hate what happened to him at England, but he's such a good manager. He was ahead of his time. He had psychologists back in 2000, 2001, 2002. He's a good manager and vastly experienced. And I think he's a great manager and hugely underrated in my opinion.
Matt, just turning our attentions to the ownership. What do you make of sort of Rob and Ryan's ownership model? And how does that sort of compare to maybe somebody like Stockport's?
Well, it's a friend of mine who's bought Stockport, Mark Stott, who's a local businessman, and he wanted to put something back into the area and bought the club. Doesn't quite have as deep pockets as Rob and Ryan, I don't think, but he's trying to get there. But similarly, his aim is to get into the Premier League, as is Rob and Ryan's, and both clubs are doing very well. Unfortunately, they picked us to promotion last season, and hopefully we can get there this season and join Wrexham.
Where does the Wrexham Stockport rivalry come from? Because obviously you played each other a lot back in the day, and then it's kind of resurfaced. Is it a situational rivalry? Is it a competitive rivalry? I mean, how do you see it?
It's similar stories. Both in the National League, both taken over from wealthy owners. Although Wrexham's is a bit more of a drama and a bit more in the public domain. It's two clubs that have got out of the National League, then got out of League Two, and fought it out in League One, and Wrexham just picked us at the post and got into the Championship. But both clubs want to get into the Premier League. That's their aim, and hopefully one day one or both might be able to.
Is that is a realistic expectation? I think a few years ago people would have said that was a pipe dream, but given what's gone on with the ownership models and so on and so forth, that is very much a realistic possibility, is it not now? And if so, what kind of time frame would you put that in for both clubs?
Realistic. I mean, it's realistic. It's doable. It is a pipe dream. It would take time to consolidate in the Championship. Like I say, it's an incredibly difficult league, and three teams coming down from the Premier League every season with the expectation of going straight back up again. And sometimes they do. It would take a lot of consolidation in building within the Championship and progressing to have a chance of getting up there. But, you can never say never. You look at Bournemouth. Bournemouth did it from League Two and got into the Premier League, and now are doing really well in the Premier League. So it can be done, and that's the dream, and that's what we're both clubs are are destined to try and achieve.
Final one from me, Matt. Where do you see Wrexham finishing this season, with or without a prolific striker? Because I imagine if we're in the mix come December, January, they might throw a bit more money at it.
Originally, I thought they'd struggle. I really did. I think a mid-table finish would be a good season for Wrexham, and then building on that for the following season and trying to go a little bit better.
Great stuff. Thanks for that, Matt. Thank you very much.
No problem.
We'll just we normally finish on a quick fire 5. I'll ask you the questions, Matt. I would imagine they don't really relate to Wrexham, but if there is someone from that dressing room you do remember from your time playing who you want to put forward, but from your time playing football, who is the most skillful person you played with?
I would have to probably say JJ Okocha. Most fun by him. And he was my head. We used to be pairs at head tennis, so that was good. A good partner to have.
Yeah, just beat Jefferson Louis out there. Fair enough. Who was the worst dressed?
Nils-Erik Johansson from Sweden. Definitely, okay. He wins that.
Fair enough. Who is the most underrated?
Oh, underrated. I wouldn't say underrated, but I would say that probably didn't get as much fame as his talent could have, and that was Tugay in the Blackburn midfield. He was a genius with the ball, a chain smoker as well. Half time he'd be in the toilets having a cigarette. Whether that would be allowed now, I don't know, but a brilliant character and a brilliant player.
Who is the biggest moaner?
Biggest moaner. I'd have to go for Gary Flitcroft, Blackburn captain. But he was the leader. You know, he would have a go at you, and he could handle himself. So he usually did what he said.
And last one from us: who was you least like to fight?
Who would I least like to fight?
Yeah,
maybe Gary Flitcroft. I remember Big Craig Short at the back for us. He was a monster. And so yeah, one of those two would be. I wouldn't get anywhere near them.
Matt, thank you so much for your time.
No problem at all.
Cheers.